Imagine a legion that fought for Julius Caesar, marched beneath Augustus, bled in Britain, and then, without warning, disappeared from history. No final dispatch, no final triumph, no official obituary, just silence. That is the story, some say the curse, of Legio IX Hispana, Rome's Ninth Legion. Picture the standards flashing in the mist, a bronze eagle raised high, 5,000 hardened legionaries tapping shields in rhythm. Then picture a gap in the record big enough to swallow an army. Where did they go? Were they wiped out in a northern storm of spears, transferred to another frontier and destroyed by a different enemy, or quietly broken up, their name erased? This is a tale stitched from inscriptions, stray tiles, brief lines in ancient histories, and a century of arguments. It's also a tale of courage, a unit that kept getting up when history tried to knock it down, until one day it didn't. How the Ninth was born, and why it mattered. The Ninth Legion likely began life in the last decades of the Roman Republic. Many historians link it to the legions Julius Caesar inherited in 58 BCE as he took command in Gaul, 7, 8, 9, and 10, the hardcore of the army that would conquer a continent. The Ninth fought under Caesar against the Helvetii at Dyrrhachium and Pharsalus in the Civil War, and later in North Africa, before veterans were settled back in Italy. Caesar and later sources list 9 among his field legions. Over time, after service in Hispania under Augustus, it earned the surname Hispana, the Spanish, a habit of Roman units identifying with key campaigns. Under the emperors, legions were Rome's steel backbone. About 5,000 heavy infantry, with engineers, medics, surveyors, and a small cavalry arm, backed by auxiliaries who provided archers and horse. A full legion on campaign could be part of a force of 15,000 to 20,000 when auxiliaries were counted, big enough to smash a tribal confederacy, small enough to march fast. Standard Imperial Legion establishment is around 5,000 to 5,500. Their identity was fierce. Each unit guarded an eagle standard and a name. To lose either was shame. By the reign of Claudius, 41 to 54 CE, Rome turned decisively to Britain. In 43 CE, 4 legions, most scholars include the Ninth, helped launch the invasion. Within a decade, we find the Ninth operating deep in the island, building forts, fighting Caradicus, and stamping tiles at new bases such as Lindum, Lincoln. The legion's work was literal, cutting roads, driving bridges, laying stone, while also fighting sporadic frontier wars. If you want a snapshot of the Ninth's reputation, it was tough, and it had luck, both good and bad. In 60-61 CE, during Boudicca's revolt, its legate, Quintus Batilius Aurelius, marched to relieve the burning colony of Camalodunum, Colchester. Tacitus says the Britons ambushed him. The Ninth's infantry were slaughtered, to a man, and only the cavalry fled back to camp. The unit was rebuilt. Rome never left a hole in the line for long. And a decade later, Cerealis himself returned as governor and took the Ninth north to punish the Brigantes. The legion recovered its edge. Under Agricola, late 70s to 80s CE, the Ninth served in the drive into Caledonia, Scotland. Tacitus reports that a night attack overran the Ninth's camp. In brutal, torchlight fighting, they nearly collapsed, until Roman cavalry relief arrived and the Ninth recovered their spirit and counterattacked. That image, close to defeat, then stubborn comeback, fits the Ninth's legend. It's one of those moments you can hear, shields slamming, horns cutting through fog. By the early 2nd century, the Ninth's main fortress was Aberacum, York, a strategic hub linking roads to the northern frontiers. We know because of stones. In 1864, a building inscription was found there, recording construction in 107 to 108 CE under Trajan and naming the Ninth. That carved slab, now in the Yorkshire Museum, is the last secure piece of evidence for the Legion in Britain. After that, the trail begins to blur. Glory, disaster, and the making of a mystery. The Ninth's British years read like a pulse line. Spikes of crisis, long stretches of grind. Roman Britain was never quiet for long. Fort building in Lincoln, York, and posts across the north wasn't just construction. It was a statement. Rome was here to stay. Yet every road laid north drew the empire's nerves tighter. The Brigantes were powerful. The Caledonians were stubborn. The terrain itself, moors, bog, and bleak passes, fought you. Boudica's revolt was the ninth's darkest hour on record. Tacitus's line is chilling and very specific. Cerealis marched to the rescue. The Britons turned on him. The infantry were cut down. The cavalry escaped. The math you can picture. If a legion's infantry cohort totaled around 4,800 to 5,000, even a portion ambushed and wiped out is a disaster measured in thousands. Rome replanted the ninth with recruits from the Rhine. It's a grim badge of endurance. Rebuilt legions usually grow harder, not softer. A generation later, in the 80 CE, Agricola's campaigns pressed beyond the Fourth Clyde line. The ninth's near overrun in a night attack, saved by cavalry, is one of those stories Roman officers retold in tents to steely new recruits. Imagine waking to screaming horns, a rush of painted warriors, a gate sagging, torches flaring against leather and bronze, then the surge of relief as the ala, cavalry, pounds in, standard snapping, and the line stiffens. That experience leaves marks on a unit's culture, the never-break instinct. All the while, the ninth was building, straight roads driven like iron pins into the landscape, stone principia, headquarters, with parade courts, baths that steamed in winter, granaries on raised floors to keep rats out. Archaeology frequently finds tile stamps, Legio 9 Hispana, proof that the unit's hands were everywhere. Tile stamps are humble but mighty. They fix a legion to a place and time. By 107 to 108 CE, the York building inscription proves the ninth was still the resident heavyweight of the north. And then, in the literary sources, almost nothing. Scholars used to think the ninth was destroyed in Britain shortly afterward. Legend made it a doomed march into Scotland from which no one returned. But new finds in the 20th century complicated the story. Tile and brick stamps bearing the ninth's name turned up at Nijmegen in the modern Netherlands. If the whole legion had been redeployed to the Rhine after 108, maybe it wasn't annihilated in Britain at all. Or maybe only detachments were present there earlier. The stamp's dating is murky. Some argue they belong to the AD 80s or circa 105, so they don't settle the matter. Which leaves the clean cliff edge in the written record. The ninth's name is missing from official legion lists in the age of Septimus Severus, 193 to 211, where we'd expect to see it if it still existed. Somewhere between 108 and the mid-2nd century, Legio 9 Hispana fell out of Rome's roster. And that is how a grinded-out frontier legion became a riddle. Vanished. The competing theories. Three big families of theories try to explain the ninth's disappearance. Theory A, wiped out in northern Britain, circa 117 to 122 CE. This is the classic view. After the York inscription of 107-108, the ninth pushed north, ran into a catastrophic uprising, and was destroyed. Circumstantial support. Emperor Hadrian visited Britain in 122 and ordered a great fixed frontier, Hadrian's Wall. Some scholars interpret this as Rome reacting to a major defeat by locking the border down. The idea remains attractive. The legion's last secure footprint is York. The wall's construction soon follows, and tombstones in the north hint at heavy fighting. But hard proof, a battle site loaded with ninth insignia, hasn't turned up. Modern scholarship treats this as possible but unproven. Theory B, transferred to the Rhine, then destroyed elsewhere. The Nijmegen material, the tile and brick stamps, suggest the ninth, or part of it, was present in the lower Rhine region after its supposed British annihilation. If that's right, the legion may have been redeployed and later met its end in another crisis, perhaps the Bar Kokhba revolt, AD 132 to 135 in Judea, or a savage war in Armenia, Parthia during the 160s. The problem is dating. The Nijmegen stamps may belong to the AD 80s or circa 105 to 110, not the 120s or 130s. If they're earlier, they don't rescue the legion from a British doom. If they're later, they open the door to an Eastern disaster. The evidence is enticing, not decisive. Theory C, administrative death, broken up or renamed. Some legions that suffered disgrace were quietly disbanded, with men reassigned and the title retired. But we'd expect stray inscriptions of veterans naming their old unit after discharge. For the ninth, such later inscriptions are conspicuously absent. That silence argues for something dramatic rather than tidy paper shuffling. Two independent late 2nd century legion lists omit 9. By then, it is gone. In recent years, the debate sharpened. Nick Hodgson, 2021, revisited the sequence: war in Britain around 120, Hadrian's arrival in 122, and the immediate import of Legio XI Victrix to York, replacing whom? Hodgson argues that the end of the Ninth, a northern war, and the building of the wall belong to one story arc. Other scholars caution that coin and inscription evidence is still too thin to declare the British annihilation case closed. One thing is certain. By the reign of Severus, the Ninth's name is not in the army roll. 33 legions are listed. 9 Hispana isn't. Somewhere in the early 2nd century, a legion with a century of battle honors ceased to exist in official memory. That's rare, and that rarity keeps the mystery alive. Little-known stories, finds, and the long shadow of a lost eagle. Beyond the theories, the Ninth's file is full of gritty human stories. Start with Boudica, because the Ninth's near destruction in 6061 left fingerprints on its psyche. Tacitus's description is brutally clear. Infantry destroyed, cavalry escaping, an image of a shattered column, shields abandoned in a trampled lane. That scar, then the legion's rebuild, created a pride that veterans carried for decades. We died, we rose. It's one reason the Ninth feels cursed and heroic at once. Then the night assault in Scotland during Agricola's governorship. The Ninth's camp hid in darkness, men panicking, lines buckling, until cavalry slams in and the legion surges back. Tacitus emphasizes the turn, from terror to counterattack. It's the kind of story centurions told around watchfires to hearten recruits. Hold the line, the horse will come. Archaeology adds quieter tales. Tile stamps, Legio IX Hispana, turn up like breadcrumbs at forts and brickworks. You can place a legionary in a workshop, hands gritty with clay, stamping his unit mark on rows of tiles that would roof a bathhouse where his comrades soaked sore legs. At York, the Trajanic building stone, AD 107 to 108, fixes the Ninth in time. Proud, busy, doing empire work. Occasionally, a name breaks the silence. Tombstones from Britain record centurions and standard-bearers from different legions. The Ninths are rarer, but when they appear, they anchor a life. Miles from Italy, buried under northern rain, with a Latin epitaph and a carved helmet. These stones don't solve the disappearance, but they make the legion human again. There's also the afterlife of the myth. In 1954, Rosemary Sutcliffe's novel, The Eagle of the Ninth, imagined a disastrous march into Scotland and a quest to recover the lost eagle standard, a story that seared the destroyed in Caledonia theory into popular culture. Later films and TV carried that fire forward. Scholars point out that fiction isn't proof, but fiction can shape the questions archaeologists ask. Even Wikipedia's sober entry has to wrestle with Sutcliffe's shadow. Modern analysis tries to prune the romance. Could the legion have been posted to Nijmegen after 108? The tile stamps say maybe, but dating is fuzzy. Some experts place them in the AD 80s, when Ninth detachments were on the Rhine, or near 105 to 110 during temporary absence from Britain, not later. Could the legion have died in Judea, 132 to 135, during the Bar Kokhba revolt? Some lists of casualties are incomplete, and no Ninth inscriptions from the east have surfaced. If they had, the debate would be different. In short, tantalizing leads, no smoking eagle. One more quiet clue sits in admin history. When Hadrian came to Britain in 122, he shuffled the garrison. Legio XI Victrix arrived to garrison York. If the Ninth still existed in strength, why the swap? Was 11 Victrix filling a sudden hole, or simply reinforcing a restless frontier? Nick Hodgson's recent work leans toward a British catastrophe that triggered the wall's construction. Even if we never find a battlefield, that sequence, war, imperial visit, wall, hangs together. And so the Ninth lingers, in battered tile stamps, in a York inscription, in Tacitus's terse lines, and in campfire stories that blew into novels. Perhaps one day a spade will hit a ditch packed with Ninth shields and the mystery will crack. Until then, we live with a legion-shaped hole on Rome's roster. Conclusion. The Ninth Legion began as Caesar's sword, marched on under Augustus, stumbled and rose again in Britain, and then vanished. The last firm trace is a York inscription from AD 107 to 108. After that, tiles at Nijmegen hint, arguments bloom, and certainty fades. Some scholars see a northern disaster that spurred Hadrian's Wall. Others suspect a transfer and destruction elsewhere. What's not debated is the legion's courage. at Boudica's ambush, in Agricola's night, and in the long, muddy business of empire. Maybe that's why the ninth grips us. We are used to neat endings. The ninth denies us one. It leaves instead a trail of stone, clay, and rumor, and a question that still stirs the blood. How can 5,000 men disappear? Until the ground gives us more, the answer is a chorus of possibilities and the echo of marching feet fading into the rain. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about Caesar's infamous fighting legion and ancient Rome, check out our book, History of Rome, a captivating guide to Roman history, starting from the legend of Romulus and Remus through the Roman Republic, Byzantium, medieval period, and Renaissance to modern history. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. If you found the video captivating, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.